Hello everyone and welcome into the classroom of WJHI at Jeffersonville High School. Today we are having the first show with Mike Moore called More with Mike, and I am your moderator, Haley Adams. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm Mike.
Okay, great. So today we have the student body of our WJHI staff being basic questionnaires for you, like you're in Jeopardy. They're going to ask you questions considering our youth and community in WJHI. They are all students and staff of our WJHI team. So today we're just going to ask a couple questions for you. You ready?
Fire away. Let's do it.
Great. First, we have Jaden Schweitzer with our first question.
Hi, Mayor Mike. Thank you for being here with us and welcome to WJHI. I'm Jaden Schweitzer. So we want to start off with kind of what your childhood was like. We know that you have a history here in Jeff as a Jeff High student and a businessman. So what was it like growing up in Jeff when you grew up, and what really made you love the city the way you do?
I had the perfect childhood, and you've probably heard others say that, but I will argue it until the day I die. I grew up in Oak Park. My family moved here in '63 from Lexington. I came along in '64, grew up 306 Longview Drive. Was very blessed. Mom and Dad that were always very supportive. I've got an older brother, Chuck, and two older sisters, Mary and Karen. We all went through Parkview, Jeff High, and my folks had Jerry's Restaurant on 10th Street for 50 years. So I learned at an early age how to run a restaurant, and that's where my life took me. But growing up, kindergarten and first and second grade were at Middle Road. Then they built the Riverside Elementary and went there, and then on to Parkview, and then on here to Jeff. But just an Opie Taylor kind of upbringing from the Andy Griffith Show, if you can imagine. But Little League Baseball, all different kinds of sports. But Jeff High was something special for me. And as a young kid, my heroes were the basketball players that played out here, actually played at the old Nahan Fieldhouse. I've always been a huge Mike Flynn supporter, and back when I was about 7 years old, Mike Flynn was named Mr. Basketball of Indiana. But back in my younger years, my dad used to drive the fan bus for the Jeff High basketball games, away games. So I've gone to Jeff High basketball games since I was age 2. And I remember going to the old field house, and then when this was built, came here. But all the great basketball programs Jeff High has had over the 70s and 80s, mostly into the 70s though. I was riding on the bus with all the fans. My dad was driving the bus and got to go to all the glory years of the Jeff High basketball runs, and just had a ball doing it. Played varsity tennis here back in the late 70s and early 80s, and tried my hand at football. Had a funny encounter when I was a freshman. I had a pretty good arm, and I went out for the Jeff High football team. And Coach Ware was the coach, and I remember he put us out on the line and line of scrimmage, and he said, "Okay, you're going to turn around and hand the ball off to this running back here." And by the time I turned around, that running back was gone. He said, "No, you got to be quicker. You got to be quicker." So took the second snap, did it again. I was through the line. I was too slow. Coach Ware says, "Doggone it, give me the football. Let me show you how it's done." Same running back comes through. Boom! By the time he turns around, this kid's gone. So a lot of fun memories here. I was never a superstar, but I sure enjoyed my days here around Jeff High and walking these halls. My 3 kids went through here, and actually my daughter Allie was part of this same program when it was getting started. And as you can tell, I talk too much sometimes, but probably the luckiest kid in Jeffersonville, luckiest kid in Clark County. Grew up to be the mayor of my hometown. I love it.
That was a great answer. The next person we have to ask a question is Justice Bowman.
Hi, Mr. Moore. Thank you for joining us today.
What's my name?
Oh, Mike.
My name is Mike. All right, let's get
Hi,
it.
Mike. Thank you for joining us. Would you be willing to tell us a little bit more about your family and your life in Jeffersonville. We want to know about your dog, Puddin',
Yeah.
about your kids, what they're up to.
Yep.
Just stuff like that.
Well, Puddin's a rock star. She gets to come to work with me every day, and she's got a little bed, sits there by my desk. But I adopted Puddin' back about 8 years ago, and went through a divorce. And my kids, after about 6 months of seeing their dad sit at home and not doing anything, they're just saying like, "Dad, you need to get a dog." So we all went to at that time, the J.B. Ogle Animal Shelter. And lo and behold, this one dog comes walking right over to me and sits down, lays down at my feet and turns her head up to me. And I said, "That's the one." So her name, I changed her name. Her name is Puddin', and I've had her since 2013, but she didn't get to come with me here today, but most places I go, she's right there by my side. My daughter, my 3 kids that went through Jeff High, Shelby, she is 26 now, and she got married here in the last year, a little over a year ago, and she married an Irishman, and they live over in Ireland. And she's doing well. I actually spoke to her just this morning. And Allie, she went through this program. She graduated Ball State. She lives down in Florida now. And my son Garen, who's a little bit taller than the rest of us, Garen was a pretty good basketball player out here a few years ago for the high school team. And he's at IU. He's in the Kelly School of Business. He's a senior. And he will graduate in May. And he's got a double major in finance and real estate, a little bit smarter than I am. And he wants to join the military. So he's actually attempting to get into officer candidate school and wants to join the Army when he graduates from IU. So I tried to make the lessons I learned as a kid from my parents. I've tried to teach my kids. We're all strong Red Devil fans. We love Jeffersonville, and this will always be the place we call home.
I've seen that your dog loves Jules' pet grooming for Spa Day.
Oh yeah. Jules takes good care of her here on Middle Road.
Oh yeah, she's a great person. Our next question is going to go to Dylan Baumgartel.
Hi, Mike.
Dylan?
Sticking with being mayor, what led your interest into politics and your decisions to run?
That's a great question. Growing up in the restaurant business, and Dad made sure I had an apron on and was working at Jerry's restaurant since I was 12. And the one thing we learned is at election time, Dad would always make the remark about a month before the election. You could always tell when it was election time because all the candidates started coming into Jerry's. Jerry's was your 24-hour, 7-day-a-week restaurant where everybody in Jeff hung around, and that's where the politicians wanted to be seen. The one rule my dad told me, I shouldn't say the only rule, one of the rules was, Mike, don't ever, in the restaurant business, don't ever talk about politics, don't ever talk about religion, because you're going to tick people off. See, I noticed I didn't use a cuss word there. Tick people off. So, politics were not in my background, and there was actually a sense of distrust, distaste for politicians, and I never thought I'd be one. And after my folks retired, I bought them out. I had a nice run in the restaurant business, followed that same philosophy. But Jerry's Restaurant was a gathering place where people loved to talk about things. So it was actually kind of a good training ground for me in the restaurant business for the job I do now. But I got fed up with politicians coming in and making promises and not fulfilling the promises. They had always said mayor candidate after mayor candidate. Telemarketer. Don't call people when they don't want to be called telemarketer. Sorry about that. I had it on mute, but anyhow, I got fed up. Politicians kept coming in and saying they were going to widen 10th Street, and nobody was doing it. And the previous mayor came in when he first got elected and made that same promise to me, and I said, I'm going to hold you to it. 4 years go by, nothing happened on 10th Street, and I got tired of everything. All the money in the city was going downtown to build a canal. And I just got tired of it. I went to my dad and I said, Dad, I'm thinking about running for mayor. What do you think? Dad, by that time, was a little bit older. He was retired. He was fed up too, and he said, go for it. So I had some people encouraging me to run. I didn't live in the city before then, but the city had annexed. I lived out in Steeplechase, real close to where Stacy lives now. But the city annexed me. People came and they said, hey, would you run for mayor? And I gave it some thought, but my dad was my first conversation, and really the only conversation that I really needed to make up my mind. But when Dad said go for it, I ran, and guess what? We fixed 10th Street. So I still have a distrust for politicians. I never wanted to see my kids go into it. I'm lucky. I have a job I truly love. And I think part of the reason why I fit so well into it is what you see is what you get. I'm Mike. I'm not a polished politician. I don't have any dreams of leaving Jeffersonville and running for higher office. I've got the highest office I could possibly have. You know, to grow up in this city and become the mayor of your hometown, when you can truly say you had the greatest childhood any kid could have. I'm truly blessed. I've raised my kids here. My kids love the city of Jeff. They love all the things we get to do around here now. So I'm a guy that holds office, and I guess you could label me a politician because I serve the public, but I still don't quite trust those politicians that are out there promising to do things for you. So I've got a watchful eye on them, just like you all should.
Well, you are truly a great role model for all of us.
I don't know about that. I've got plenty of flaws, so be careful saying that.
Our next question is going to go to Sydney Adams.
First, thanks for being here and talking with us today. I'm wondering what's so rewarding with being the mayor here? Like, what's the real joy you have from it?
Well, I lost my dad about 5 years ago. And on election night, when I had won my second term, there was a front page picture in the evening news of me embracing my dad down at Kai's on election night. Now, this is the man that told me never run for office or talk about politics, and don't trust those dirty politicians. And I will say it, he had a shit-eating grin on his face. And when Dad passed away, I remember they wanted to do a story on Dad, and they wanted to know if we had any picture. And I said, just look for that picture on the front page of the paper where my dad's got a toothpick hanging out of his mouth and he's got a shit-eating grin on his face. Lo and behold, they found that picture, so they knew what I was talking about. But the look in my dad's eye, we all have role models. We all have people that, we want to impress, we want to please. My mom and dad both fit that role for me. And my mom's still here. Mom's 85 now, but I'm 57. And just about every time I have something important, a question in front of me or a project we want to do or we don't want to do, I like to get my mom's opinion, and I like to talk to my kids. My daughter Shelby, who's 26, is a very strong presence in my ear because I want Jeffersonville to be the place where the younger generation also embraces. So to be able to do things in this job where I can go home at day and feel satisfied and fulfilled and feel like I've built something better but I can also see my 85-year-old mom who loves Jeff and has fun things to do. And my 22 and 24 and 26-year-old kids have something fun to do. That's pretty cool. You know, and tomorrow we started a new thing several years back, but we do a Christmas card contest with all the elementary schools. I love going into the elementary schools and seeing those kids. You know, and you think about it, you all are, what, juniors and seniors now. When I came in as mayor, you were second or third grade. So these kids, when I go to the elementary schools now, that was you all when I first came in. And look at you now. And look what Jeff High has become. You know, and look at the opportunities that the city of Jeffersonville has for you all now that they weren't there when we came in 2012. And it's not me, I'm not the reason it did it. But we put, a team of us put things in progress to make things happen. And, you know, you're all going to benefit from that. You all are going to leave here, you're going to go on to college or something bigger and better. But the one most important thing I think I put a lot of value in, I hope you go get that college degree, I hope you get that career, but I hope you want to return to Jeffersonville and raise your families here. Because a lot of people my age, when we came out of Jeff High, we fled. We went to Indianapolis, we went to Chicago, we went elsewhere. Jeffersonville wasn't that place to raise your family. It was a great place for me, but there weren't a lot of good paying jobs here. So I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. And again, I'll say, I know I talk too much, so I'm sorry. What's the next question?
No, you definitely don't talk too much. You are a very wise person. The next question goes to Caroline.
I need you to tell my wife that, okay?
Oh, I definitely will.
Okay.
Yeah. Your next question is going to go to Caroline Shepard.
Hi, thanks for coming in and answering our questions today. The question I would like to ask is, do you have any sort of projection on how long you would like to be mayor of Jeffersonville for?
You know, there's more than one thought that comes to mind when you ask that question. I've been doing it 10 years. And I've seen people retire and they don't have something to do and they're bored. I don't want to be that person. And if you know me and if you're around me or if you work around me, Stacy's dad works right next to me every day. My biggest problem is I don't have a hobby. I play with my dog, you know. Puddin gets all my attention. That's why the kids said, Dad, you need a dog. So at 57, you know, you're starting to get to that age of maybe thinking about retiring. And when I was 40 and I was in the restaurant business, boy, I had a plan. You know, hey, when I'm 60 years old, I'm going to a beach and I'm going to drink cocktails and be lazy. That doesn't really appeal to me anymore. I'm a little bit older. I've enjoyed watching my kids grow up, but I don't want to be one of those people that retired and 6 months later, you know, started thinking, well, why did I walk away from the greatest job that anybody could have? So I don't know how long I want to do it, but I'll tell you, as long as I'm having fun, I'm going to continue to do it. And, you know, whether that's 2 years from now, 6 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm in the middle of my third term. So, but first off, I would encourage all of y'all, make sure you get a hobby. Don't be like me. But, you know, I'm hands-on. I love seeing things happen in the city. I'm pretty good about putting smarter people than me in charge to see things get through. I'm surrounded by, I don't have a college degree. I'm not ashamed of it. I feel very fortunate, but I've got a lot of people around me with college degrees, and I believe in listening to people smarter than me. And most of the time when I sit in a room full of people, it's pretty clear I'm not the smartest one in that room, but I'm smart enough to listen to people that know what they're talking about. So as long as Jeffersonville continues to grow and People are having fun. I'm having fun. I'd like to stick around a little bit longer.
Well, I do believe you enjoy fishing, however.
I do like to fish. Yeah, I do like to fish.
And so our next question will go to Justice Bowman. I mean, not Justice Bowman.
Stacy.
Stacy Wilder. My bad.
Thank you for having us, or thank you for coming in.
You're welcome. Angela, last Stacy's on air. Go ahead.
Looking at the city right now as we near the holiday season, what are some of the events and times that make Jeffersonville so special during the holidays?
We just had one of the coolest events, and we do it every year, but this past the weekend before, we did the Christmas parade, which is so much fun. And then we do light up Warder Park, and of course, Santa Claus. Warder Park on Court Avenue, I don't know how long it's been there, a long, long time. But it's a beautiful little park, and it makes for a great setting. The downtown is perfect for a parade. But when, I'm on that float, here I'm going along, and I got Santa standing next to me and Mrs. Claus, and my wife's there, and we're just riding along slowly down the streets of Jeff. And I look over on each of the sides of the sidewalks, and there's little kids, there's moms and dads, there's grandmas and grandpas, and they're 5 or 6 deep on each side. That's a fantastic feeling. Now, unfortunately, they weren't screaming for me. I told Santa, I was like, I need to go buy one of these red suits. You're a pretty popular guy. But, to see all these kids just screaming for Santa Claus, at a time in the last year and a half when our lives have been crap, that sure was a good feeling. And I love being across the river from Louisville, Kentucky, because there's a lot of neat things over there. But I wouldn't trade places with the mayor of Louisville for nothing. We get the best of both worlds. We get the charm and the nostalgia of a beautiful, quaint little community, and yet we're 5 minutes away from, a metropolitan city that has so many different things to offer. So, Christmas time, Halloween, doing all of the trick-or-treating down at the Big Four Bridge, and Derby. Even, Derby's a big deal. It may not be a national holiday, but for Jeffersonville and Louisville, it's a big holiday. So Easter, we utilize Vicine Family Park, and we do a massive Easter egg hunt. We put a heavy emphasis on our parks around Jeff, and our parks, I believe, are for kids of all ages. So holidays are special. Christmas is definitely very near and dear to me, and I love being a part of it here in the city of Jeff.
Okay, so you definitely enjoy the seasons. That's awesome. Do you take pudding to all of those? Pudding comes to the 4th of July parade. A few years ago, Pudding's about 12 years old now, so she can walk pretty good for a short distance. But we now take a wagon with us, and we put Pudding in the wagon. So Pudding's always at the 4th of July, the parade. She comes to some of the other events as well, but sometimes I'm having to be moved around pretty quickly, and for whatever reason. But Pudding doesn't get to come to everything. Oh, that's sad. She'd probably very much enjoy it. The next question is going to go to Lily Fondrisi.
Hey, thanks for coming in today.
Any relation to John Fondrisi from Rockies?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
So I'm Lily Fondrisi. I'm a senior here at Jeff, and a lot of people, especially in this room, a lot of us drive, and I'm sure we all have noticed the construction, specifically on
what construction?
the Sherman Mittens. So we were all just wondering, when will Jeff be alleviated of these traffic problems?
Oh my! Well, hold on. Remember, I'm the guy that ran because 10th Street didn't get touched. what you're seeing mostly downtown now was actually begun, EPA. If I say EPA, are y'all familiar? Environmental Protection Agency.
It says J. Curry on the page.
Jeffersonville is like many other cities along any river where things that were built 100 years ago are not compliant today. So when you have raw sewage going through your street drains and emptying out into the Ohio River, that's not good. And the EPA told Jeffersonville, I think back in 2009, fix this problem. 2009 or 2006. So just like Tiss Street, it was another big project that was going to cause a lot of headaches and it was going to cost millions and millions of dollars. My frustration with politicians saying they're going to fix something and they didn't fix it, that's what I walked into. So all this construction that you see going on downtown, that's the EPA mandate. That's separating the sewage from the drainage. So if we didn't do it, you know, what are we telling our grandkids? Well, you're just going to have to live with raw sewage running into the Ohio River. I don't want to leave that legacy to my kids or my grandkids. EPA wasn't going to allow us to do it. So we're in the middle of that massive project. I think it was over $20 million. And what you see downtown now is basically tearing up all of the roads, digging out these, some of them are 150-year-old sewer pipes that were collapsed, falling apart, sewage running everywhere. You may not see it, but it was running everywhere. But you got to go down 20, 25 feet under a road. You know, you're on your front porch, you're looking down, there's somebody working down in a hole 25 feet to pull this old pipe out. Then you got to replace the new with a new pipe, and then you got to pave over it and everything. So it's not a quick project. It was begun about this time a year ago. Contract states the contractor has 2 years to finish it, so we're halfway through. I don't like it, but I'm gonna have some fun with it because everywhere I go, people ask that same question. Why don't you fix the roads? Well, we're fixing them. It just takes a long time to fix them. So anybody live out in towards Salem Noble Road or off Charlestown Pike? Got a big meeting tonight at Worley Athletic Complex, because when we're done downtown, we're revealing tonight the design phase of the Charlestown Pike project, which all the way from Salem Noble Road to Holman's Lane, it's a little better than 3 miles. We're going to widen Charlestown Pike. So that project, you won't even see construction begin until 2024. But this year, 2021, was all about getting all of the input from the neighbors. What do you want to see? Does that mean my time's up? Okay. So we've compiled all of the requests and information that anybody wants to see on Charlestown Pike, all the new subdivisions that have come out there, all the traffic that drives on that road now. It's an old county road. It's not wide enough to handle a school bus and a car driving side by side. So we're unveiling that tonight at 6 o'clock. Next year, 2022, we will begin purchasing the right-of-way, the property, along all of the property owners along that 3-mile stretch. We have to buy the property in order to build the road wider. 2023, we will have the utility companies all move their utilities that are underground or above ground. And then it's probably a 2-year project that'll begin in 24. So you're going to see construction for a while. You're just, when downtown ends, and in 2024 it'll be in another piece of the city. But I promise you, that's probably the most asked question I get.
Great. Construction is always fun, isn't it?
Well, it's a necessary evil, because if
Very
you don't
much
do it, you know, honestly, and you can say that about a lot of things in this job, we've taken on so many projects that were a pain in the butt. But if you don't do them, why did you bother to run for mayor? You know, why you're not fixing anybody's problems. These are things that have to be fixed. So you may be angry at me while it's going on. You probably cuss at me when you go home. But, you know, when it's all over and done with, it'll be a better community for our kids and our grandkids to live.
That's great. Next is Miles Harper.
Hey there, Mayor Mike. Good to see you with us today at WJHI. One of the big enjoyment hubs around here in Jeffersonville is the Jeff Boat, and we were wondering if there are any discussions of working on the Jeff Boat. It's out of commission currently.
Yep, Jeff Boat, today's a significant day in the history of Jeff Boat. What's today? Pearl Harbor. Jeff Boat is the business that built the city of Jeff. We were a town of, you know, not much of employment, not much growth. The need for LSTs for the war happened, and all of a sudden, boom, everybody started building barges down at Jeff Boat. You got 65 acres of river frontage directly across from Louisville, Kentucky. It's an incredible site. We've got the interest of developers all over the place. I've had conversations with the governor because we're going to need some help cleaning up the site. When you build barges for years and decades, you're dealing with chemicals and some things that seep into the ground. So you've got a cleanup site there you're going to be dealing with. The city does not own that property, but we are working with the owners, and we're trying to put together some incentives to where the owner can be brought in with maybe multiple developers, and the city can offer incentives to make that space into a TIF area, TIF. And by so doing that, we can pour the revenue of the taxes right back into it to make it something special. You're probably looking at a multi-billion-dollar project when it's done. Problem is, we don't own it, and we can assist and help. And Jeff Boat changed hands within the last year. The previous owner wasn't willing to do anything. They were sitting on it. They wouldn't even let anybody do a phase 2 study on it, which a phase 2 study is an environmental study that has to be done anytime there's a site and you're going to be taking a mortgage out on it. A bank is going to require you to show that property is clean. The previous owners wouldn't allow that to be done. Therefore, they were never going to sell it. So we're at their mercy. But again, the city can offer incentives to make that project become something. I'd love to be able to tell you that's going to happen next year. I don't know how long that's going to take. I'd like to be the mayor when it happens because I think it's going to be incredible. You know, Jeff Boat, a little history on it. My family's business, Jerry's. When Jeff Boat was going strong, and I think they, you know, had hundreds and hundreds of employees there in the 80s and the 90s, our restaurant benefited. But when Jeff Boat was having hard times and they were laying people off, it affected our restaurant. So Jeffersonville owes a lot to Jeff Boat. It's part of our identity, and I want it to become something special again. We're past the point of building barges. So that land's got a better use. I just need to get the right people placed together to make that happen. I'm working on it, but I'd be lying if I said I had everything worked out right yet. But I've at least got people at the table talking.
We always used to love going down there and watching the concerts over the summer. So our next question and last question, it comes from Kirsten Elder.
Thank you, and thank you for coming in to the WJHI studio today to close this episode of More with Mike. I want to ask you, what's your favorite thing about Jeffersonville?
My favorite thing? Well, you know, I've been involved in several projects. So if we're talking about a site, you know, I would say probably our parks deserve a lot of attention as far as what somebody may say is special to us. what I find special is how the community has come together. 10 years ago, there was a lot of fighting, and it just seemed like people were getting frustrated and would either move away or people fought. You've actually got a city now that's at peace. City council and the mayor's office are all working together. River Ridge is another aspect of our city that's very, very important to us. We've got a good relationship with River Ridge. But what I like about the city of Jeff, you know, the little house I grew up in still stands. My mom's still around and gets to enjoy, you know, going to Angie's Cafe. And I enjoy coming to Jeff High basketball games. I got my season tickets again about a month ago. I'm anxious to come watch basketball. Didn't get to do that last year with COVID, but being the mayor of a city that I think shines above all the others, and my 3 kids, you know, see it too, and they're anxious to come back and be a part of it. I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but Jeff is special to me in many different ways, and I think it's because no matter how old you are, there's something in Jeffersonville for everybody.
Thank you so much for answering all of our questions today. You did it very well.
Sure.
So this will be our sign off. Thank you for coming and being here with us today. And thank you for being on the first More with Mike with our WJHI staff. And we would all like to say thank you on your behalf.
You're welcome. I'm anxious to come back. There's a lot of things we didn't even get into. So, you know, if we're going to do this once a month, I'm looking forward to coming back and hearing some more questions. And y'all got any ideas of what we need to be doing in the future? I'm all ears.
We can't wait to see you next time.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes, and this has been a WJHI product. Thank you. Production.